Hello, hello friends! It is Kirsten from Happy Little Quilt Shop. Welcome to Wine and Whips. We have a fabulous wine this week and a great whip that I am so excited that I have finally gotten started. I'm really behind on it, but I've finally gotten started on it. It's fantastic. It's green, which is my favorite color. But let's get into the wine and see if we can make this not 43 minutes like last week. Boy, was that video rambly. You cannot trust me after a good glass of red. I just get real wordy. And we've got the good camera this week, so hopefully you guys can see me nice and crisp and clear. I am back in my basement sewing room, which I am so excited about. So before we dive into the wine, disgusting fun fact: millipedes do travel in herds. So we had like a ton of water damage down here. It flooded multiple times. We finally got it dry. Had to gut a bunch of it. So I was sewing upstairs many times. Went back and forth. Like every time it was dry, come back down. Every time it was wet again, we'd go upstairs. But we think we finally got it handled. And then millipede apocalypse happened this summer, which, man, that was just it was a real downer. It was a real disgusting downer. So it was like I was laying down glue traps and I was like coming and changing them out every other day. But we just couldn't seem to get them under control. So the millipedes are finally under control. It's still a basement. Like there's one or two down here. There's definitely, a spider or two. Weirdly, the spiders did not take care of the millipede problem. I don't know what that was about. If they could just, do their job, that's why I let them live. That'd be great. But they were not handling it for me. So, it's finally handled. There's a few. We can deal with a few. So, I moved all my stuff back downstairs. I feel like it's going reasonably well so far. I managed to get, basically when I brought everything down, I just sort of dumped because I didn't really know what to do. And so I undumped yesterday. Just trying to, organize things a bit. I have these curtains behind me on my chrome racks because I'm a person that, if I can see all the stuff, I'll be like, oh, I have to deal with it somehow. As long as it's on a shelf, it's dealt with for the time being. I do definitely have to do some kind of fabric purge. I have a lot of fabric that I've made a quilt with it already, and I'm, it's somewhere in the house. I've gifted it, I've sold it, and I don't think I'm gonna make anything with the same fabric again. So it needs to go. So if there's a fabric that you feel like you missed out on at the store, I probably have it, and I'm probably looking to get rid of it. Yes, there are some of my preciouses. You will not get those. I will continue ordering those. I definitely have some fabrics that I'm gonna need to figure something out about because it's not a healthy habit to just keep them. And this is definitely the year of letting go. We're maybe semi sort of thinking about moving. We don't know. We've been in our house for as long as we've been married. So 10 years. Actually, I think we've been in the house maybe one more year than we've been married. So I'm trying to clear stuff out, get stuff organized, and the fabric is definitely one of those things because there's these two chrome racks behind me. There's this chrome rack beside me. There's 4 chrome racks off to the one side of me. And then there's a leaning tower of project boxes. So we got to do something about that. I haven't even had any of the wine yet, and I'm rambly. It's because I love you guys. And I don't get to talk to you very often at any length in the store. We get to chat a little bit, but then, I feel like it's oh, I'm on to the next person. So these probably will be a little rambly, but I'll try my best. I'm a yapper. I don't know what to tell y'all. Love to talk. So let's actually get into it. So I didn't bring the bottle down, which maybe I should have. I've done that in the other ones, shown you guys the bottle. But this week we have the Craggy Range Sauvignon Blanc. It is gorgeous. And because we have the better camera, look at that. You guys can actually see it. So it's a beautiful pale straw. And every wine has a pretty unique color to it. And they can be kind of divided up into, I would say, like 12 to 16 tones. So this one definitely would be pale straw because it looks, surprise, like pale straw. You'll notice I'm drinking out of a different style glass this week. This is kind of a all-purpose wine glass. So you could drink red or white out of this. I tend to feel like whites are a little bit better in this style glass than reds, but particularly for like entertaining purposes where you know you're gonna have the group of friends who will only drink red and the group of friends who will only drink white, get yourself some of these bad boys. Costco sells them. They're like $1 a glass. So then same thing, very easy for entertaining. When someone inevitably breaks one, or it goes into your dishwasher and it gets broken, $1 a glass, can't beat that. And it's still a very nice glass. It's got a nice little ring to it. It's nice to drink out of. So back to the wine. This is a very intense on the nose wine. Like I can have it. This is a good, it's hard to tell from the camera, but like this is a good probably 18 inches from my body. And I can smell it from there. So it's a very intense nose. So yeah, I don't even really, last week and the week before we were talking about, you know, you really got to get your nose in there to give it a good sniff, get the notes. This one, I think if I stuck my nose truly down in there, I might sneeze. Just because the acidity is very, very, it's very, very bright, very, very crisp is often a word that you will hear when describing acidity. And you can like smell that little bite. So very green apple for sure. Little bit of the maybe tropical fruits, kind of mango, guava. I would say more guava on the nose. And definitely everything out of New Zealand, very minerally. Sauvignon Blanc, absolutely no exception. I just realized I'm talking with my hands so much and you guys are probably like, oh, she's so loud. No, she's not. Oh, she's so loud. No, she's not. I'm going to attach this to my shirt. Hang tight. Let me see here. Okay. Okay. Hopefully this is way better. Sorry about that, guys. Hopefully that's better. So Craggy Range Sauvignon Blanc. I happen to be drinking the 2023. Sauvignon Blanc is meant to be enjoyed quite quickly. You don't want to cellar it. Definitely this happens to be a New Zealand wine. Sauvignon Blanc in general is a New Zealand thing. So basically with wine, you know, we talked a little bit last week about what grows together goes together, and kind of tied in with that is there are certain places that certain grapes will grow better. And Sauvignon Blanc grows fabulously in New Zealand. They just have perfect climate for it, perfect soil. You get this beautiful, very minerally versus fruity. Even though you've got the fruits on the nose a little bit, when we take a sip, it is not sweet and fruity the way that like a Moscato is, or a sometimes Pinot Grigio can tend a little bit to the fruity side. And it's not that there aren't Sauvignon Blancs that do tend to the fruity side. There absolutely are. But the ones that are considered the best Absolutely more crisp acidity, more minerally, a little bit of fruit on the nose, but has kind of a herbaceous taste to it. Not like in a thyme, rosemary, that kind of herb, but like a floral herbal tea is a great way to describe it. So let's give it a taste. Ooh, yeah. And it's perfect temperature. So this is a wine you definitely want to keep on the chilly side. I actually would say this could be a little bit chillier. I talked too long and it warmed up just from my hand being so close. So that's, again, you know, last week we talked, don't grip your wine like this. You'll warm it up. Always grip by the stem. And another like weird, it's not weird, but like a little etiquette thing is, particularly for folks who like to wear lipstick, you want to always try and sip from the same spot on the glass. It's like a odd little etiquette thing. I forget all the time. And I'm not often wearing lipstick, but I'm often wearing some kind of like balm or something. And so I try and sip from the same spot, but inevitably I'll forget, I'll get bored, and I'll start, you know, twirling my glass, and then I'm sipping from the other side. Yeah. Excellent, excellent wine. Definitely, you've got that nice, bright, crisp acidity that hits you right away. It almost comes across as sour, just like ever so slightly. But sour in like a key lime Meyer lemon kind of way. Or, you know, I loved Sour Patch Candy as a kid. And they had a commercial that was, oh, they're sour but sweet or something like that, because, and they had like the little Sour Patch Kids that, you know, would like cut off a lock of your hair but then like give you a hug. Because if you've ever had one, they have like sour sugar crystals on the outside, but then the inside, it's just a glorified gummy bear. So this is that way. This is a great way to describe it. Like, it has that initial little bite to it, but then it just smooths itself right out, especially as it goes. So you'll notice this the more wine you drink. Typically, because of the shape of the glass, it will touch every single taste center on your tongue. Just the nature of, you sip it at the front, you know, the front of your mouth, you're taking a sip, and then as you swallow, it coats your tongue and heads, you know, to the back of your palate. And so you hit every single spot. So you hit all of the, you've got the sweet, you've got the sour, there are some wines that can come across as spicy. So initially, when it's there, kind of at the front of your palate, and as it moves back, you get that little bite, but then it smooths itself out, and it would be what we call an elegant finish in the wine industry. So it gets you a little zip, but then it's a nice long finish. You taste it in your mouth. That not, I don't want to say sweet in like you're biting into a piece of candy sweet, because it's not that sweet. It's like biting into a peach, same thing. You initially get that little tang, but then you've got all that kind of juicy sweetness of the peach. Yeah, definitely getting all of those. Green apples are like this. So I talked about green apple earlier. You definitely have a little bit of that on the nose, but you definitely have it on the palate as well. when you bite into like a Granny Smith apple, initial bite, and then it smooths itself out. Same with this wine. Because of that, this wine is an excellent choice with seafood. I really love it with a fattier fish. That's not everyone's cup of tea. But I find it goes great because of that acidity. It goes great with a really nice fatty fish. Love it with salmon, even tuna, mahi is great. You could definitely drink it with a whitefish, but I don't know that I would go out of my way to do that. I definitely think if you have a fattier fish, it's excellent with that. So that's what I would pair it with. The thing that I pair it with all the time is I adore sushi. Like, if I were stranded on a desert island and could only eat one thing for the rest of my life, it would be sushi. I truly could eat it every single day. I love it so much. Specifically, I love spicy salmon rolls, and like a spicy salmon hand roll is really, it does it for me. And this would be excellent with it. You will find some sushi restaurants serve wine. Typically they serve sake, which is a form of wine. And often with sake, I find the same thing that I find with Sauvignon Blanc, which is it has that initial little bite, but then it smooths itself out. The thing about sake is it is a much higher alcohol content. I didn't look up the alcohol content of this one. I would, let's see. Yeah, so this is, we won't be able to see it as well with a white wine versus a red, but being that I have the better camera, let's see if we can. So wine, when it drips down the glass, forms what's called legs. And yeah, we're seeing them a little bit. It's much easier to see with a red than a white, just by nature of the color. But you can tell to some extent, and I think I talked about this a bit last week, the alcohol content of the wine by how fast those legs, oh, here we go. Hopefully you guys can, maybe if I put my hand back here, hopefully you guys can see those legs with this better camera. I'll definitely make sure to do it with a red again at some point. So I would say, yeah, based on taste and just looking at the legs, I feel like we're in a pretty standard range for wine, so like 12 to 14. This one's probably a little bit on the lower end, I think, actually. Yeah, this I think might be kind of smack dab in the middle, about 13. Do I have my phone? Let's look it up. Now that I'm not filming on the phone. Let's see here. Let's see if I'm right. We've got, oh, so close. It was on the lower end. They're saying it's around 12.5. So every batch is going to be different. This batch, they're saying on average is right around 12.5. I said 13. I was pretty gosh darn close. I'll take that. I think those are pretty, yeah, that's pretty good guess. What else can I tell you about this guy? It is from the Hawke's Bay region. It is 100% Sauvignon Blanc. I don't think I mentioned that. It is 100% Sauvignon Blanc. It is the style of the wine and the grape. And let's see if there's any. I talked about the minerality. talked about the fact that it does not age a long time. So this says they age it for, oh, this is interesting. So they age it for 3 months, primarily in stainless steel tanks, and then they just hit it with a little French oak at the end there. And that's probably what gives it that really nice finish, to be perfectly honest. That really nice, long, it's elegant finish. Beautiful, beautiful wine. I would definitely drink this on a regular basis. I think I had mentioned in like my little kind of initial letting you know what wine we were going to taste. I've mostly had this at restaurants. I'm not sure I've ever had a bottle here at home. My go-to, and we will definitely do that one at some point, is Honig Sauvignon Blanc, which comes out of California. So completely different region, very different taste, but still a Sauvignon Blanc. So that was fun. The wine is hitting me a little bit. That is the issue with talking so much. Oh yeah, I'm looking. I put a timer on the little screen so that I could see how talky I was getting, and we spent about 21 minutes on wine. We're gonna maybe try and not spend that much time on the whips in progress. I'm trying to get rid of my little notebook here, and I do not have quite enough space because I still have stuff all around. So let's talk about this fabulous whip for this week. This is the Positively Vengeful quilt from Brickell. I'm gonna say Jepson. I don't want to butcher her last name. I'm not sure I honestly ever heard her say her last name, so we're just gonna say Brickell. Brickell designed this. It's a very cute quilt that has a very, I would say, a pretty standard plus sign block. It is meant to be very scrappy if you choose. There is a 3-color version. That's what's on the cover. I am doing the 3-color version, but it can also be very, very, very scrappy and an excellent way to use up your stash. You need 6.5 inch squares, I believe. Let me look here. So you need 6.5 by 2.5, and then you need a boatload of 2.5. So you could definitely use scraps for this. You could use a jelly roll for this with some additional yardage, I think, depending on what size you're making. So I'm making the throw, and I decided, because I'm doing the 3-color version, it's the only one that you can strip piece. So I am strip piecing. Let me show you guys my fabrics. So this is one of the complete strip sets. So I am doing these are Charlie Harper fabrics, and I am chain piecing 2 of these together at a time, and then connecting them to get the complete 4, and then these will get cut down to make all of these little guys in here. So this is one set that I need to cut down, and full disclosure, I sewed this earlier. I am so behind on this. So it's a sew along that benefits the Trevor Project. Great cause. And I don't know what happened. I think it was just the moving. The moving from upstairs and downstairs to downstairs again, and like not knowing if for sure this was going to work. I'm still deciding on like a permanent machine to have here at home too. So I have a lot of machines. I have multiple Berninas, an Elna, a Janome. I'm currently sewing on the Brother NS80E at home. I brought it home because my friend bought this machine, and I wanted us to be able to sew on the same machine together. That hasn't happened yet either. I feel like life has just been chaos. It's just been chaos. So we haven't sewn together yet. But I've been sewing on the same machine that she has, so that, you know, if she has a question, I can very quickly help her out. So I'm using the Brother NS80E with 1/4 inch foot, piecing these guys, and then because I'm chain piecing, I've got my handy dandy little chain piecing cutter here. So you just put a old rotary blade in here, and it will slice and dice your little threads between your chain piecing. We sell this guy in the store. It's from Feral Notions, and this is the vintage one. I think it's so cute. I love the colors, so I always keep that handy. I use it a ton. And then the third color in my quilt, let me get under here to it. Let's see. I gotta not mess up my strip sets here. So got all those. We've got all these. There we go. Okay, there it is. So I've got this beautiful grunge that has both the tones from each of the Charlie Harper fabrics. So if you didn't know this about me, I adore green. Green and purple are two of my absolute favorite colors. And so I think this is just, especially once you get the grunge for, it's going to be the plus signs, I think it's going to be just stunning. I'm so excited. And I'm just glad that I've got it started. Like, sometimes you just need to start. And that's where I was at, is just needing to start. This is definitely, I would say, a confident beginner could absolutely tackle this project. It comes in baby, throw, twin, and bed sizes. So it's 4 sizes. I'm not 100% sure when she's going to release this pattern to the public. I would assume sometime after the sew along. So definitely find Raquel on Instagram and make sure to get this pattern when it's available. It could possibly be available now. I should have triple checked that before I started talking to y'all. Okay, I'm going to show you guys one last thing because I think it is important, especially for beginners. So we're going to figure out how to do this real quick. I'm going to grab 2 of my pieces of fabric here. And I'm going to move my machine towards me, and we're going to, I have the camera very precariously perched. Move you guys down, maybe? Let's see, how are we going to do this? Because actually I need you to see, okay, hang tight up there for a second. So, I'm going to show you kind of how I'm sewing, and then I'm going to bring it around to the other side to show you better what I'm talking about. So when you are first starting to sew, I find there is a huge tendency, and let me get this needle up and moved where it's supposed to be so I don't break a needle when I'm sewing for you guys. The amount of times I have forgotten to move that needle, I cannot tell you. I'm so sorry guys. I've had like the hiccups throughout this entire thing. So just excuse my hiccups. I promise I didn't have a glass of wine before this. I promise I'm not already tipsy, although boy, that was like maybe a 6-ounce pour, and it has hit me. So I'm going to place my fabric under here, and then the thing that I want to show you guys is when you're sewing along, particularly as a beginner, I find there is a huge tendency to be very concerned about where that needle is going. the needle can only go straight up and down unless something really, really bad has happened. So you actually don't need to watch where your needle's going, but you need to watch the fabric as it's feeding under the foot. And particularly with something like this, where you have these long strips, and I'm using a 1/4 inch patchwork foot, I'm actually watching the guide of my foot to know how to adjust my fabric to make sure that I maintain that perfect 1/4 inch. So I am going to grab the camera and probably flip you guys around. Let's see how we're gonna do this here. Okay, let me flip you guys around. There we go. Okay, up close and personal. All right, so what I want to show you in particular here is, you can see, so on my 1/4 inch foot, I happen to have a guide. I have this little metal finger over here. And what beginners do is they tend to watch this needle that it goes up and down and up and down, and they think, oh, everything's lined up. I'm great. I don't have to worry about anything except for watching that needle. So let me see if we can get this to focus where I want it to. There we go. But what you actually need to watch, as I'm like watching the screen and telling you this, what you actually need to watch is over here, because this metal finger is what sticks out furthest. And if you don't have a metal finger on yours, you need to be watching the very front of your foot. And you can see, so my fabric is starting to separate and scooch here. So I'm going to take it and I'm going to adjust it over. And I'm not going to pay any attention to that needle, because that needle is just going to keep going up and down like it's supposed to. I'm going to keep watching back here, even all the way down here. Here is my 1/4 inch line. If I were not using a 1/4 inch foot. So I'm going to want to watch way, way, way back here versus watching that needle go up and down. And I find so often with beginners, I don't know if it's a fear of putting that needle through your finger, which of course we all have a fear of that. But it's much more important to ensure that everything is lined up, particularly on this edge, and that it is feeding under that foot. So if we can we get focused really? There we go. Make sure that everybody is feeding nice and straight and even, so that those feed dogs and that foot work together and you end up with a perfect 1/4 inch. So that is, oops, there we go. That is my little tip for beginners. That is my work in progress. This has been a great chat. We did finish quicker than last time. We are right around, looks like just over 30. We're probably going to finish probably at 35. I'm going to ramble for 2 seconds more. Thank you guys so much for joining me. This is truly a blast for me. I have missed wine in that very educational sense so much. And so this is great practice for me. It's really nice to talk to you about something that I love. It's nice to talk to you about 2 things that I love. I love wine and I love sewing, and this is fabulous. So I hope you keep tuning in. I hope you really like this, and I will see you next week. Cheers, friends! Happy sewing.